and Newcastle have got PSG, Dortmund and Milan. Now, to take us through the groups, we're going to be joined by a man who last led Newcastle into Europe. His former gaffer, Alan Pardew, joins us now live on Drive. Alan, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys?
I'm good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Very well. Very excited, of course. Let me ask you this. When Newcastle fans saw that group in its entirety, would they have danced like you danced in that FA Cup final or not?
There's the obvious question. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'd be very, very pleased. Can you imagine Mappe running out at St James's Park? I mean, those tickets will be sold out tonight. Fantastic draw for them. They'll be absolutely delighted.
Boss, do you think they'll relish this challenge? Because, as you said, they haven't been in the Champions League for a while now. It's the toughest group out there that they could have got. There are some serious challenges there. Do you think they'll really relish this?
Well, because Newcastle were in that last pot, they was obviously going to have a tough group. But probably they've been slightly unlucky in terms of the strength of all three of them, AC Milan, Dortmund and Paris. Obviously, the away games are going to be very, very difficult. But the team that Eddie has, the form they're in, the atmosphere they're going to create, it's going to be very, very difficult for them teams to get results at St James's Park for sure. We got to the quarter-final against Benfica in the Europa League, and the atmosphere was, unbelievable. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like for a Champions League game. It'd be so exciting for them guys.
Alan, the basis of Newcastle's success last season was really that organisation, wasn't it? That defensive strength. They're going to need that, but in this type of competition, if you've got that base, that can take you a long way.
Yeah, I think a lot of sort of pundits have said that Newcastle probably won't finish in the top four. They had a great season last year. I think they're stronger. They've got the same team, but they've added to it. Tonali in particular looks an absolutely brilliant signing. He looks like one of those thoroughbred midfield players that you need. He has a European experience, of course. So I think they're stronger. The problem that Newcastle will have, of course, is the demands of the competitions, all the competitions, and whether the squad is deep enough. Certainly, when I went to that Europa League, I wanted to be a lot stronger than I was in terms of the size of the squad, and we just couldn't manage to fill it as we wanted with the finances that we had. But Eddie doesn't have that problem, and hopefully he has enough in-depth strength. He's got people like Dummett there who are not going to get a game, but they're going to get games as all these competitions reel in. But what a group! I think initially there'll be slight disappointment in terms of the strength of it, but I think the excitement will build and think, well, if you're going to go and win this competition, you've got to beat the best side. So, it's better to sort of gear yourself up for it now.
It wasn't that long ago, of course, the new owners came in and their goal would have been Champions League football. Personally, I think they've got it ahead of schedule. It was an incredible achievement for Newcastle to finish top four last season. What realistically is expected of Newcastle in this competition this time round, do you think?
Well, if you look at the model of Manchester City, right? So they have this huge funding that come in there, and look how many years it's taken for them to actually win the trophy. So Newcastle, I think, will look to go on a similar path in terms of getting experience. It's so imperative that you understand, like going to Borussia Dortmund, what's that going to be like for these players? Most of these players now, particularly Eddie's squad, are international players, play for their country. You'd like to think they'll adapt quite quickly. But it does take, it is an experience, and even for Eddie, of course, and his team, this is a whole new ball game. So, they're going to have to learn quickly the nuances that are this competition, which obviously is the toughest in the world. Probably, the maximum you can reach in your career.
Do you think it's going to be important for them to manage, when I say the games, because they are in the Champions League now, so it is European football back at Newcastle. They've got the domestic league football, the domestic cup competitions as well. Do you think they've got a squad big enough, strong enough to compete on all fronts?
Well, that's where I'd worry, Darren, because of course you only got to lose 2 or 3 key players, and suddenly you're looking so much weaker. I mean, the result against Liverpool will be, damaging. There's no doubt about that to the mentality. And Eddie's got a big job to lift them this weekend. But this type of thing is like it's one of those bonuses. I can imagine they're all on their WhatsApp group tonight, all the players and staff throwing messages across, thinking of players that they know in those teams and starting the banter, and it creates an excitement, and they'll bring that and it will bring it to the league, I'm sure. But whether I can't really answer that in-depth one, Bentley. We're gonna have to wait and see on that. But certainly, I like to think they've put that in their sort of process, that they've got enough bodies.
Alan, you talked about Sandro Tonali and his impact, and he looks excellent already. We obviously did very, very well with Milan. What do you make of Isak and the impact he's had? Because there aren't many players quite like him, are there?
No, he's got that sort of X factor that, Geordie fans love that. Of course, the players they've had up there over the years, those players that get you off your seat is where they're at. And he is one of those. He can do those mazy little runs and dribbles. Sometimes he can look slightly naive, slightly unorthodox at times. But he's a special talent, and obviously he's gonna get better. I mean, Gordon on the wing there was terrific the weekend, and they've got options in wide areas, and Harvey Barnes, etc., etc. All these players have never experienced this sort of level of competition, and of course, the beauty that Eddie's got there is that it's a young side that is going to grow. I don't expect them. I think it would be a tough call for them to get out of this group. But I think they got a great chance. But if Eddie could do that, I think that would be a real feather in his cap, because, as you say, it is a tough group.
A quick word about the goalkeeper, Nick Pope, left out of the England squad today. Were you surprised about that? And how will that affect his mindset, if at all, playing against Europe's elite?
Well, getting left out of international squads, as Bentley will tell you, is damaging to your kind of confidence. It is. You can't. You think you're going to be in there. You probably got the call. Maybe Gareth called him a couple of days ago to sort of tell him. It's not, whichever message that Gareth's given him, it's not good enough. Players just can't accept it. It hurts, and it will deeply hurt him. But like the adversity that players have to deal with, and coaches and managers, that's part of our game. 90% of what we deal with is disappointment. So you have to be resilient, and he'll have to come back stronger. That's the only message that I would send up to him, and I'm sure he will.
Fair, Gaffer. Them comments hurt me. We talk about that hurt me. But listen, do you think it's got anything to do with potentially the way he plays in goal? Because listen, he's a great shot stopper, but the evolution of the new goalkeeper, they've got to be able to play with their feet. Do you think that's got anything to do with it? Why maybe Gareth hasn't picked him?
Well, I don't want to be unfair on the boy and say, he struggles with his feet and stuff. I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest. But, that is a massive part of the game now. And De Gea, he hasn't got a club, and he's struggled with his feet at Man United, and now he finds himself, not fixed up at the moment. I think it is a major, major part. You look at Alisson and people's like that, where if teams are going to press you, and you're going to look to play out, but then you can bypass all that with a direct kick in behind, and have accuracy to hit wing backs. This is a major, major point of, particularly in Europe, where teams are going to really high press you, and they're going to come after you, particularly when they're at home.
Alan, you talked about how excited the players might be. From a manager's point of view, how excited is Eddie Howe going to be right now? Because when you were coaching in Europe, it must have been so fascinating to actually pit your wits against different types of coaches, different styles, players from different countries.
Well, it's, that is one of the real joys of football, to have different challenges. And certainly when you go into Europe, the travel, the logistics of it all, you got to kind of go over that. Eddie will be sitting down with his travel manager and his secretary, finalising where they're going to stay, the experience of hotels and all. This is part of the process that you need if you're going to win the Champions League. Now, can you imagine Munich, now Man City, Man United? They know all the places. They know where to go. It's all done. It's all been done before. But of course, for Newcastle, it's been a long, long time since they've been in the Champions League. So this is all new to them. I mean, the CEOs will be sharing experiences. I'm sure they'll be ringing Man United and getting some feedback from those teams who have been in the competition about, the logistical side of it. But in terms of the challenge for the managers and the coaches, it's brilliant. We turning up and seeing different formations, the way teams keep possession. You go to Holland and they'll keep possession for a while, and then you'll end up with 6 forwards, across your back line, where they've kept ball and they've just got runners coming from everywhere, and you kind of feel you're getting overrun at times. And it's those sort of experiences that you don't sometimes get in the Premier League. And of course, the actual furore of a stadium. Can you imagine when Newcastle go to Dortmund? And I don't know how many fans Newcastle will be allowed to take, but the atmosphere that's going to be in there will be absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. You've been absolutely tremendous, Alan. Thanks so much for coming up. We were slightly nervous how you get on with Benty, because of course in a complimentary way he sort of cost you your job at Charlton because he got injured.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, he was so paper thin in terms of his ability to get out there. Benty knows I love him dearly, and if he had stayed fit, I'm pretty sure. I don't think I'd still be at Charlton, but I think we would have stayed in division. So it was a shame for us.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.